In the following video, you will learn how to conduct research for your Real Monsters research essay in English 102. You're currently looking at the LibGuide for your course. A link to this LibGuide is found in D2L, and you can also access it through the library website by clicking on the LibGuides tab at www.hgtc.edu/library. Once you get to the LibGuide for your course, you'll notice that there are tabs running along the center of the page. These tabs are how you navigate your way around through the LibGuide. The first tab that comes up is always the Home tab. This is basically just a welcome page where you can find some general information about the library. The actual research links begin on the second tab, which is the Books tab. In this video, we're going to take the tabs in order, but understand that you can go to any tab at any time to conduct research in the resource that you choose. Starting out here on the Books tab, this is where you can see if the library has any physical resources that would support the person or group that you've chosen for your assignment. This first box for HGTC OneSearch will tell you what we own. We're going to start out with an example searching for Saddam Hussein. When you search our library catalog, you initially will receive results that may be print resources or ebooks. If you want to limit to only items that are held by our library, meaning physical items, after you conduct your search, click here where it says Held by Library. Your search list will become smaller and list only items that are either available for checkout or ones that we own but that are currently checked out. Examples of this include this first item, which says Not Available, which means it's currently checked out, whereas these other items, which list a campus location and a call number, are items that are available for checkout through our library. If an item is housed at the campus that you do not take your courses, you can simply stop by the library or give us a call, and we'll have it transferred to the library of your choosing. Going back to your LibGuide, below the search box that tells you what our library owns, you'll find a link to Pascal Delivers. This is a free service where you can borrow books from all the other libraries in South Carolina. That would be colleges and universities. If you click on this link, you get a search page that looks similar to the page that we were previously on. Only in this instance, again, you're only finding items that are available at other libraries around the state. So as we do a search, just as we did in the last instance, we get a results list that's much larger in this case. With our Pascal Delivers service, you have access to some print resources that you can request, as well as ebooks that you can access digitally over the computer. The way that you request an item that you would like to have delivered to our library is by first locating the item that's of interest to you. If it says available online, it's an ebook. If it says check for availability, those are ones that you can request, assuming it's available from the owning library. But again, to request the item, you first need to be signed in. You sign in using your My HGTC credentials. Once you have signed in, then you will have the ability to click on an item and request the item for delivery to our library. Items will be delivered to our library in approximately 5 to 7 days through this Pascal service. Going back to your LibGuide, you'll notice that there are some sample items on this Books tab. There are sample circulating books. These are items that you can check out from our library. Simply click on the title to find out the campus and the location. And then there are some sample reference books, which are items that have to be used in the library only. These items cannot be checked out from the library. Going back up, we're now going to take a look at the eBooks tab. On this eBooks tab, you'll note that there are a number of different boxes. The way that this page is designed, the boxes on the left-hand side are ebook collections where you can access full ebooks, meaning an entire ebook cover to cover on a specific topic. Whereas the collections on the right-hand side are ebook collections where you get entries out of ebooks. You don't have to look at the entire ebook. You just look at what might have been a 4 or 5 page entry on your topic out of an ebook. We're going to start out looking in one of the full ebook collections over here on the left-hand side. We're going to go into EBSCO ebook collection. Again, if you are off campus, you would be prompted to enter your MyHGTC credentials to access this from home. I'm going to do a search for Boko Haram. You'll note that there are 14 ebooks that mention this particular group. If you find a title that looks good to you, simply click on it, and you'll be taken to a page where you can learn more information about what's found in this book. To actually access the book itself, there's a PDF full text link over here on the left-hand side that is probably the easiest one to go into. If you use screen reader software, use the EPUB version, or there is a download link, but quite frankly, it's much faster just to click on the PDF link, and you will see that the book does load fairly fast. Everything within the ebook is going to be a hyperlink. So if you see a chapter that looks good to you in the table of contents, you can click on it and it'll immediately take you to that page in the book. There is also a search within feature, and that allows you to search for anything within the book and find what pages where that item is located. And as with all library resources that you access electronically, there is a cite feature that shows you a suggested MLA citation. You should double check it for accuracy, but it is a great starting point for getting your citations done in a fast manner. You can also email pages from the book, but bear in mind that most books do have a limited number of pages that you can email due to copyright issues. Again, over here on the right-hand side, these are ebook collections where you're only getting an entry about your topic out of a book, meaning you don't have to get or read the entire ebook. So if I were in Credo Reference and did the same exact search that I just did a moment ago, you'll note that when I get my results list, it tells me I'm looking at just the entry on the group I searched for in this instance of Boko Haram, and it tells me how many words long that entry is. So again, I'm not reading the entire encyclopedia of warrior peoples and fighting groups. I'm just looking at the 1,400 word entry on the particular group that I happen to search for. And there you can see is the entry itself. My citation button is right here. And if I wish to email this to myself, I would click on the share button and I could then email it. Please note I only showed you EBSCO ebook collection and Credo Reference in this particular video, but there are other ebook collections on this page, including eBook Central, which is one of those full ebook collections, as well as Gale eBooks and Salem Online, which are the entries from books, not the full book itself. Salem Press Online is a particularly good one to take a look at. With this one, there are a lot of history ebooks in there, so you can likely find some information from one of those on your person or group. Additionally, there are sample ebooks on this page for eBook Central, EBSCO eBooks, and Credo Reference. These are only samplings. There could be far more available to you on your chosen person or group if you actually searched the entire collections that you see on this page. Going back up, taking a look now at the Databases tab. Databases, if you're not familiar, are basically online versions of libraries. Databases contain entries that were once published in magazines, newspapers, journals, sometimes books, sometimes videos. So it's a wide variety of source types. On this page, you'll find two boxes of databases. One would be the general databases. These are ones that could be used for absolutely any course about any topic. Then on the right-hand side, you've got the miscellaneous databases. Some of these contain biographical information, some contain historical information, some focus solely on the military and government. So these are more specialized databases, whereas these over here on the left-hand side are your general databases. The two largest of the general databases are Academic OneFile and Academic Search Premier. You'll notice that they're both labeled as being best bets. So if you were going to use any of these databases, these are definitely the two to start with in this particular box. On the right-hand side, a really good one for this particular assignment is the biography database. Again, if you were off campus, you would use your MyHGTC credentials to access this from home. One of the nice things that you may notice is that as you start searching, there is predictive searching. So if you see the person that you're searching for on the list, you don't have to type any further. You can simply click on the suggested search and it will automatically conduct it for you. Additionally, you'll note that our databases oftentimes break the results down into different resource types. So you can see it tells me I've got 7 biographies, 82 newspaper articles, 2 journal articles, 55 magazines, and so on down the line. For this particular assignment, I think starting with the biographies is a good choice. And again, in this instance, I have 7 different ones that I can look at for this particular person. When you locate one that looks good to you, simply click on it, and it will take you to it. And just as we noted with the ebooks, when you find an item that looks good to you, there is a cite button, as well as an email button. In this case, it's the send to link, and then you can click on email. So that was the biography database. We're now going to go over and we're going to take a look at the World History database. And you may note that this one looks somewhat similar to the last one that we looked at. The reason it looks similar is because it's made by the same company. That's something that you'll note as you're going through in your research, that a number of our databases are made by the same company. So while they contain different information, their search screens look similar, which makes searching easier. Also, like the last database that we looked at, it has predictive searching. So as you start to type in your search, you can choose the predicted search, and it will automatically take you to a page where all of the information on that person or group is located. In this instance, a search for Adolf Hitler, you can see, brings up numerous journal articles, magazines, primary sources, entries from reference books, biographies. If you ever conduct a search and you feel you've gotten too many results back, one of the ways that you can make your search results list smaller is by adding more search terms to your search. So this is a results list for Adolf Hitler. The way I can add more search terms is to again include his name, But then if I use the word "and," it doesn't have to be capitalized, but I'm showing it capitalized here for emphasis. After I put in the word "and," I can add another search term. In this case, I put in genocide. And now I've been more specific, so my results list is going to come back with a smaller number of results. If you feel like you found something good on this list, great, take a look. If not, think about another search term that you could enter in the search box. This time I'm going to put in Holocaust. And maybe I like this search results list here. Again, I've got different resource types. Down here in the magazines, here's a good-looking article. Talks about the responsibility Hitler had with regards to the Holocaust. Again, just like you saw before, once you click on an item, you can go in and you can read it, or you can click on the Cite feature to see the suggested MLA citation that you again should double check for accuracy, or in this case, the Send To link if I would like to email this to myself. While I'm not going to do any more searches in the databases, I will mention a few others that could be of interest to you. The History Reference Center database is a good one to take a look at, and it's made by the same people who made the EBSCO ebook collection that we looked at previously. So the information you'll get from this one is different, but the search screen looks the same. Additionally, the U.S. History database is a good one to look at if you have a person who was born in the U.S. or a group who's known for being primarily in the United States. And it's also made by the same people who made the World History database as well as the Biography database, so it looks similar to those two. Finally, you will note also on this page there are a few sample journal articles which you may want to take a look at, as well as some additional search tips. I told you about the "and" search in one of our previous searches, but note that there are a few other ways that you can conduct searches, and you may want to read through this and see if any of those would apply to your searches. The last thing we're going to look at for your research today is the Multimedia tab, and this is where you can find Films on Demand and Kanopy. These are the library's two streaming academic video providers. Films on Demand on your left contains mostly documentaries, news programs, and educational films, while Kanopy on your right provides mostly documentaries and independent cinema. We're going to go in and take a look at Films on Demand for this video. And I'm going to do a search for Osama bin Laden. When you conduct a search in Films on Demand, your search results list will be one of two types of results. It will either be a segment from a much larger film, so this is a segment out of this film, or you may find some that say that they are the full video, meaning it didn't return just a segment, it returned the full video itself. And as we scroll down here, you can see are a couple examples of those. When you find one that looks interesting to you, simply click on the title, and then you can begin watching the video on the left-hand side of the screen by hitting the play button. Please note a few features that come with all films. You have the Cite button, where you can see the suggested MLA citation. Again, double check it for accuracy. Also note that every film comes with segments, so there may just be one specific segment of the film that you want to watch, and only that segment, and that will be perfectly fine. You can jump right to it. There's also a transcript feature, which is nice because if you want to directly quote something from this video, you don't have to retype it. Everything that's said in the video will be over here in the transcript. While I'm not going to go in and do a search in Kanopy, I will tell you that if you do want to use Kanopy, unlike Films on Demand, which only requires your MyHGTC credentials, Canopy also requires that you set up a free account before you can begin using it. There'll be a link to do that on the screen when you go into Canopy. It'll only take you a moment, and once again, it is entirely free. And lastly, on this tab, you'll note that there are some sample films for some people and some groups that you may be choosing. And then at the bottom, there are some film series. These are videos that have more than one video to them. It's a series of videos, so you may want to take a look at those. Finishing up on your LibGuide, there is a tab for information on citing sources in MLA format if you need some assistance with that. There are some videos to help you improve your research skills if you're so inclined to do so. There's a Learning Support Services tab where you can find information about the Tutoring Center and the Writing Center, as well as a few other departments, but primarily for this class, the Tutoring Center and the Writing Center may be of interest to you. And lastly, you have the Get Help tab where you can find all the different methods for contacting the library for assistance. Whatever method works best for you for seeking assistance is fine with us. We have all of these out here specifically to provide you with different methods for receiving assistance when you are in need. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. And again, if you need help, please reach out to the library and we'll be happy to give you a hand and steer you in the right direction.